First, let's start with the Dolphins and their big win over the Broncos. I got a stat here that may, I don't know, it may lend some credence to the argument that the Dolphins had the best offensive performance in history of the NFL. You go look at the other 70-plus point performances in NFL history where a team scored at least 70 points. You got the 1940 Bears I think it's the Redskins actually in the NFL championships. They scored 73 points, 73-0. But remember, that was 7 rushing touchdowns, 3 interceptions returned for touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. 1950 Rams versus the Colts, 70-27, 5 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 kick return touchdown. So you got another non-offensive touchdown in there. 66. You have Washington versus the Giants, 72-41. 4 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 fumble return for a touchdown, 1 punt return touchdown, 1 interception return for a touchdown, and then a field goal. The Dolphins versus the Broncos, you're talking about all offensive touchdowns. They set the record for the most offensive points in an NFL game with 70. So the rest of those 70-plus point performances, you had some help. Defensive touchdowns, special team touchdowns, non-offensive touchdowns. The Miami Dolphins did it with all offense. Like that's crazy to think about too. They scored the most offensive points in a game with 70. All the other teams that scored 70 plus, they got help from non-offensive touchdowns. So just throw that out there that you may be talking about the best all-around offensive performance in NFL history just because of that.
Can I play Sean Payton afterwards?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, go ahead.
I got Sean Payton for you. Sean Payton, not real happy with after his team gave up 726 offensive yards, 350 on the ground, 376 through the air, and non-resistant on defense. This was our man, Sean Payton.
That was embarrassing and tough to watch.
I know that you said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game. I mean, it's
I'm aware.
Third time a team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question?
I mean,
What's the
how do you
question?
feel about it being
I just finished telling you.
Historically embarrassing.
Next question.
What's your question? I know. And you know what? And I believe they're going to look for the footage. Someone will find it. But there is a rumor online that when Sean Payton was in part of the media, remember he was saying a lot of things as a part of the media, that one of the things he was critical of was Tua. And he was predicting that Tua, basically Teddy Bridgewater, ended up taking over that job.
Ooh!
And so that basically that's what he, as an analyst,
Tua
that he
wanted
predicted
a piece of him?
That they wanted a piece of him, and maybe Vic Fangio wanted a piece of that organization overall because they fired him. He was the head coach there. But maybe that Tua wanted a piece of him too. Because maybe Sean Payton's foot got stuck in his mouth once again.
Tua is not as outlandish and confident and boisterous as Deion Sanders, but he keeps receipts too. You know what I'm saying?
Mike McDaniel is, though. Mike McDaniel is up there. Mike McDaniel's wild, man.
Can I play Mike McDaniel? Because he was asked in his press.
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the whiz kid offensive mind, Mike McDaniel's got all these toys to play with. He was asked after the game why he didn't score 77. Because they had 70 halfway through the fourth quarter and could have kept going and set some records. Here was Mike McDaniel after he, took the foot off the gas.
I thought that it's not like it was 40-7. You weren't trying to embarrass them, but it was just in the flow of the game that it was a NFL history possibly being made as opposed to just scoring and something that.
It's not. It doesn't really. If you. I will be fine getting second guessed by turning down NFL records. That's fine. I'm very, very okay with the decision.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow. And
karma.
Texter,
he said karma.
Texter mentions that was without Waddle too.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle didn't play in the game. Trust me, my fantasy football team knows that Jalen Waddle didn't play. I have a fan. He's one of my top picks in my draft. And then his team scores 70, and he didn't play. God damn.
Texter Ricardo from Galveston says, I have a stat. If you would have played just all Dolphins players, he said, you'd have got like 200 fantasy points, something crazy like that. I agree. I had over 200 fantasy points, he says. You could have, because I know Raheem Mostert had a hell of a day. But
I have Raheem Mostert.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well,
but I'm going to lose. You know why? Because the Buffalo defense played Washington. That's why.
Well, Washington's offense has been pretty good. Hadn't it?
Not yesterday.
Oh, not yesterday.
Pick six,
Can I give you
points.
one more stat before we move on and talk about the Texans here and some other NFL games? Remember, Mike McDaniel grew up in Denver.
Yes,
Like
he did.
Mike McDaniel is originally a Denver Broncos fan. He was a ball boy for the Broncos. He was a coaching intern with the franchise in 2005. Remember when they had their head coaching vacancy? They had a vacancy and they wouldn't interview him. The Dolphins did, and Dolphins ended up hiring him. And he just put up 70 on his team. That's his team. That is his team as he grew up. So it was all personal for Vic Fangio, personal for him. It might have been personal for Tua too. That's how you get 70 on somebody. You got it. Like Deion says, it's personal.
Yeah, and you need help. I believe you need help to put up
Yes,
70
you
points.
need help
You
from
need that other team
a
to
downtrodden,
not give much effort.